Despite what my title of my talk might suggest, I am not here today to talk about the existence of climate change. Instead, I'm here to talk about what we will do about it. If you've been paying attention at all to global warming or climate change over the last several years, you know that one thing we don't have is unanimous agreement about climate change. Some people think it exists, other people don't. What I know is that the risk of doing nothing exceeds the risk of doing something. So as the cartoon so eloquently states it, what if we're wrong? What's the worst thing that happens if we're wrong? We turn out, we make the world a better place, even though we didn't have to. The good news is that even if there's not unanimous agreement, there is a consensus about climate change. In 2007 and 2008, the state of Minnesota and the city of Edina both set specific goals for greenhouse gas emission reductions. By 2015, the goal was to reduce by 15%. By 2025, we both had goals of reducing by 25 or 30%. And the goal was to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 80% by 2050. Unfortunately, as we come up on the first milestone at the end of 2015, it looks like in Edina we're not going to meet our goal. That goes to show you that, as my wife is fond of saying to me, hope is not a strategy. Well, the same goes true for goals. A goal without a plan isn't likely to be successful. So, sobered by the reality of our failure to meet our initial goal, we in Edina are doubling down on our efforts, and we're in the process of constructing a very specific plan of action for how we will achieve our goals in 2025 and in 2050. That plan will include specific action items for helping city facilities reduce their carbon emissions and helping the city fleet become more efficient and reduce its emissions. But that alone will not be enough. We're going to need to find ways for residents and businesses to shrink their carbon footprints if we're going to reach these goals in 2025 and 2050. So in my family, like many of yours, we consider ourselves good stewards of the environment. We compost, we recycle, we've put new windows in the house, we've changed our light bulbs out to compact fluorescent light bulbs. We even have purchased 2 cars, a Prius and a Volt, that use considerably less gasoline. And so naturally, I thought maybe we could be the kind of family that could help reduce our carbon footprint by putting solar panels on our roof. Well, it turns out that it's a lot harder to put solar panels on your roof than you might think. There's several factors that are barriers to that. First is the cost. In order to put solar panels on your roof, you have to pay up front for the panels. You have to pay for the installation of the panels. You're responsible for the maintenance of the panels. And if they break or need to be replaced for some reason, you have to pay for that as well. And you have to buy all of that up front, even though the payback may be 8, 10, 12 years or longer. Second, you have to think about whether you're comfortable with the way they look. Now, we're into environmental stewardship, but I'm not sure my neighbors are going to feel good about having our house look like this across the street. Third is shade. In our house, at our property, we're fortunate enough to have a great big elm tree in the backyard, and it hangs over part of the house. Unfortunately, it hangs just over the part of the house that would be perfect for solar panels. And of course, without sun, we can't really have solar panels. Fourth, what about obsolescence? Anytime we're investing in technology, you have to think about how long that'll last. I mean, who among us doesn't have a junk drawer full or a basement full of what used to be cutting-edge technology? Anyone else get on the 8-track bandwagon with me? So the question is, Are we lost here? Is there no way for us to have solar power? If I can't put it on my roof, it's understandable why people aren't putting panels on their roof. So what do we do? What is the opportunity? The answer is community solar gardens, and that's what I'm here to tell you about. So what is a community solar garden? Well, as the name suggests, it's just like any other kind of community garden. And after all, a community garden is just a place that we collectively go in our neighborhood to grow things that we can't grow on our own property, right? The difference is that instead of growing food, we're going to grow energy at this community solar garden. So instead of panels on my own house, there'll be panels on a rooftop in the neighborhood that's more suitable for solar, that has sun. So how does it work? In a community solar garden, you place solar panels in a place that's sunny and accessible. The energy that's created from those solar panels is then sold to subscribers in the neighborhood. And then those subscribers have the amount that they pay for that garden credited against their normal energy bill. There's really 4 players in this. The first is the host. So the host is the appropriate rooftop. It might be a flat rooftop. It might be another place in the community that's good for solar. They simply lease the space on their roof to a solar developer. The second party is the developer. The developer does all the things that I was worried about on my rooftop. They pay for the panels. They pay for the installation of the panels. They take care of maintaining the panels. They replace the panels if they get broken or if technology changes and they need to be replaced. There's nothing for the host to do. The developer does that. In addition, the developer works with the third player in this cast, which is the subscriber. The developer is responsible for finding the subscribers, charging them for their share of the energy, and then passing that along finally to the fourth party, which is the utility, so the utility knows to credit the subscriber's bill. So why is the city of Edina involved in this? It seems like a great idea, right? We've got a community solar garden. We've licked this problem about me not wanting to put solar panels on my roof for all those reasons. So instead, we're going to put it in community solar gardens. What does the city have to do with that? Well, as it happens, as this is rolling out, we're discovering that there's an appetite much more for solar farms rather than solar gardens. Understandably, developers who want to get into this business are interested in creating fields of solar with hundreds of panels that can be sold to a few very large consumers of energy, which is great. It'll reduce the carbon footprint as well, but it doesn't do much for us as residents as trying to figure out how to reduce our own carbon footprint. And so at the city of Edina, we've decided, rather than waiting for the big solar developers and the utility to sort it out, we're going to take action to lead the way. We happen to have a nice big rooftop at our Public Works building, and that rooftop is not being used for anything. And so last August, our city council authorized the staff to send out proposals to the development community. And this month, proposals came in, and just this week, we authorized staff to enter into negotiations to create a lease for hosting a solar garden on the Public Works building. So what will that do? So the lease on the Public Works building, if we go forward with this, there's the obvious thing. Obviously, it's going to generate enough energy to power between 40 and 80 homes. In addition, it will reduce carbon emissions in the city by 165 to 275 tons. Those are the obvious things. But what's maybe even more important is that we lead the way and show how easy this is to be done. By creating a model lease that we will use to open source and allow anyone in town who wants to use that lease, it becomes an opportunity for building owners with suitable flat roofs to use that lease the space on their roof, not have to deal with solar at all, collect rent money, and let the developer generate solar power for the community. So what's next from here? What can you do? First, we would love for you to subscribe to the City of Edina Solar Garden. But as more solar gardens happen, all of you should be asking the school in your neighborhood, the business that you patronize, the churches that you attend, whether they might have rooftops that would be viable for this, and encourage them to do that. Encourage them to be a host to a community solar garden, and we'll start to generate enough energy to be able to meet those goals in 2025 and 2050 that we're looking to meet. So let me close by just saying that community solar gardens are a great opportunity for the City of Edina and its residents and businesses to change the solar market and create a cleaner energy future. And that is an idea worth spreading. Thank you.